Your pipeline says success but never deploys. The deployment gate was skipped because a missing mock swallowed the error. Let's break down Jenkins Pipeline Unit Testing, how it works, and the exact mistake behind that failure. Jenkins Pipeline Unit is a flight simulator for your pipeline. It intercepts calls to steps like sh and git, letting you provide mock implementations. You assert on behavior, not actual execution, so tests are fast and safe. Start by adding the dependency to your build file. Then create a base test class that extends base pipeline test and registers common mocks like sh and git. This reduces boilerplate across all your tests. For a scripted pipeline, load the Jenkinsfile and call execute. Then assert that sh was called the right number of times with the correct commands. Capturing arguments helps catch silent skips. Declarative pipelines need special handling. Use PipelineModel to get a PipelineModel object and call execute on that. You can then inspect stages, agent labels, and more. Mocking is the heart of Jenkins Pipeline Unit. You must register every step your pipeline uses. For withCredentials, provide a closure that returns a map with the expected keys. Missing a mock can cause silent failures. Shared libraries are key. Load them directly with load script and mock the steps they use. Also test integration by loading a Jenkins file that uses the library. Always set environment variables explicitly to avoid production surprises. Multi-branch pipelines often have conditional logic. Set the branch name environment variable in the test binding to simulate different branches. This catches bugs like the regex typo that caused our production outage. Credentials are commonly mocked. For username password, return a map with username and password. Ensure the mock matches the exact structure the pipeline expects, or it may pass in test but fail in production. To test error handling, make a mocked step throw an exception. Then assert that the failure post condition runs and the build result is failure. This ensures your error notifications and recovery logic work. Always assert on the build result. For scripted pipelines, execute returns the result. For declarative, use getBuildResult. Also assert that critical steps were actually called, not just that the pipeline succeeded. Code coverage for pipelines is possible with JaCoCo. Place your Jenkins file in src/main/groovy and configure JaCoCo to include it. Set a coverage threshold in CI to prevent untested changes from merging. Integrate pipeline tests into your CI. Trigger them on pull requests that modify the Jenkins file or shared library code. This ensures every change is validated before it reaches production. This is the same issue we highlighted at the start. Here's exactly why that happened. The shared library method deployed to production used withCredentials, but the test didn't mock it. The missing mock caused an exception that was silently caught, so the deployment gate was skipped and the pipeline still reported success. The deployment gate was skipped silently because withCredentials was not mocked, causing an exception that was caught and ignored. The fix was simple: register a mock for withCredentials in the test. We also added assertions to verify that deploy to production was called exactly once. Now, if a mock is missing, the test fails immediately instead of silently skipping. If your pipeline calls sh with a map argument, you must register both string and map signatures. Otherwise, you'll get a missing method exception at runtime. If you don't set env branch name, your tests will always execute the same branch logic. Set it explicitly in the test binding to test different scenarios. For declarative pipelines, you must call script PipelineModel execute instead of script.execute. The latter may not work as expected. In Jenkins Pipeline Unit 1+, PipelineModel returns a PipelineModel object. In older versions, pre-1.0, the method was named getPipelineModel or required a different import. Always pin to a specific version to avoid breaking changes. The article mentions registering sh with a string parameter, but pipelines often call sh with a map, e.g. shscript. cmd, return stdout, true. Register both signatures to avoid missing method exception. When a shared library method throws an exception that is caught internally, e.g. via try-catch, the pipeline may continue and report success even though a critical step failed. Always assert that the expected method was called using helper-allowed method call count or capture arguments to verify execution. When debugging, enable debug logging in your base test class. Use helper call count to verify which steps were called. If you get a missing method exception, check the stack trace to find the unregistered method. Let's run through some common interview questions. How do you mock the sh step? Use helper register allowed method sh string cmd return. What's the difference between script.execute and PipelineModel? Execute. Script.execute for scripted, PipelineModel. Execute for declarative. How do you test a post-failure condition? Throw exception in mock step, then assert pipeline result is failure. And a few frequently asked questions. What is Jenkins Pipeline Unit? A framework to unit test Jenkins pipelines without a real Jenkins instance. How do I add the dependency? Add test compile group. less for its name, Jenkins Pipeline Unit version 10 to Gradle. Can I test declarative pipelines? Yes, use PipelineModel on the loaded script. Jenkins Pipeline Unit enables fast, reliable pipeline testing. Always register all steps, test both paths, and enforce coverage in CI. This prevents production incidents like the one we started with. Ready to go deeper? Up next, Jenkins scripted pipeline and Groovy, then Jenkins pipeline stages and parallel execution, then Jenkins shared libraries. Find them all at TheCodeForge.io. Thanks for watching. The full article and code examples are covered in detail at TheCodeForge.io.